De Bruyne, missed by Toni Kroos, here's a chance for two, it is two, and Gabriel Jesus gets himself another goal. The Brazilian can't stop.
Delivered beyond Luis Diaz, on top by Mane, here's Henderson and Salah, and Jordan Henderson, deflected, and in! And Henderson will claim the goal. Rooney, the goalkeeper, got a touch to it on its way in. There is an element of fortune, but it's breakthrough for Liverpool. Jordan Henderson celebrates with 50.
Welcome to the After Extra Time podcast, the newest pod in the Edge of the Crowd podcast network, Australia's leading sports and pop culture website. Don't worry though, not everything has changed. I'm still Stuart Kavanagh, and this is still the place to be for the big news, the big games, and the big names from the world game. And this man is still my co-host. He is the author of Transatlantic Passage, How the Premier League Redefined Soccer in America, editor-in-chief of thesportsbank.net, and my brother from another mother, Mr. Paul M. Banks. How you doing this week, mate?
I'm doing good, man. I don't know what to tell anybody if they're visiting Chicago, because you have to pack for all 4 seasons within a week. We had our first 80-degree day of 2022 on Saturday, so we had summer. This morning it was 36 degrees and 39 for a high, so it was winter again. T.S. Eliot said April's the cruelest month, and I would say it's definitely the most split personality. It's the most multiple personality month, at least weather-wise. You can have all 4 seasons within like the same week. It's absolute nuts.
Melbourne is famously known as the city that you can have 4 seasons in a day. So I feel you, mate. But enough meteorology talk, Paul. Let's just dive straight into the football content. That's what the listeners are here for, mate. And let's get into the winners and losers segment. Paul, are we going sweet or sour first this week, mate? What are you giving us?
Let's go sour, just because I'm trying to have a sense of humor about it. And I'm going to go with my big loser is Ralph Rangnick. No leadership, no control at all. Inmates running the asylum. On top of that, he just doesn't care. I mean, it makes for a good soundbite sometimes. He'll just say, it is possible that could be 10 new players coming in, up to 10 new players. And like when he was talking about Paul Pogba, and he was, he said it in a professional way, but like, it is true he doesn't play up to his potential. Not just this year, but in previous years, he hasn't played up to his potential. We all know what a talent he can be. On one of those nice days when it was 70, I went out for the park and I ran into this guy walking his fox terrier. It had like, oh, this is Hugo. Here's my fox terrier. I just rescued him from the shelter. And those things have really interesting ears. They're really cute, weird, interesting looking dogs. But I guess Ralph Rangnick and this random German guy in Evanston walking his dog.
Are you losers for the week?
No. The guy walking his dog is a winner because his dog is cute. Rangnick is the loser.
Okay. I'm glad we cleared that up. No offense to the German guy that Paul seen in the park last week. If you happen to be listening, you are a winner. We just want to make that clear, not a loser. Back to the loser though, Ralph Rangnick. Something that, I've kind of pondered over, because I guess I have no life and I ponder these things from time to time, is he said, Paul struggled at Manchester United, not just this season, but other seasons too. But we all know what a talent Paul Pogba is. Do you buy that line?
I think we see it with France. I think we see he is world class, but you got to draw the line somewhere, and the standard is. Is he top class? Well, no. It's ridiculous the fact that he held the title of world's expensive player for a couple of years or a few years, and that's all about his agent then, Mino Raiola, to get it done, because he's not that. He's a good piece on a great team. He's like a big player on a great team. Mm-hmm. And he's the best player. If he was the best player on your team, then your team's okay, kind of mediocre. That's what I would say. I mean,
he's not one that you could build a team around, you wouldn't have thought.
Well, there's that, and just his attitude. Like, his
attitude does stink, yeah.
He just doesn't care. Like, he just doesn't have. And there's no excuse for that. I don't care if like he's happier with France, and because providing service to Kylian Mbappe. He's got all these, world beaters around him, but it doesn't matter. You earn your money, you earn your pay, and he just didn't. I mean, who else is out there? I mean, there's other examples of guys who just don't care. So it's like, so why do I keep watching for the rest of the season? And I don't really know too much about what Rangnick's pedigree, what his reputation was before this, but it's totally gone now because you're supposed to be a leader. And you can say the same about Pogba too. He was supposed to be a leader. He's worn the captain's armband at times, and look where we are.
Yeah, I think Ralph Rangnick, he had a bit of a reputation for building teams, like his work with the Red Bull teams in Germany and Austria. But I think this is his first swing at a truly top tier club, and he's definitely struck out. I won't torture you for too much longer about Manchester United, Paul. Let's move on to my loser, and I've kind of gone off book a little bit. Barcelona, they seem to be having a bit of a revolution under Xavi when he came into the club. It seems like that loss to Eintracht Frankfurt in the Europa League quarterfinals has really stung. They lost to Rayo Vallecano 1-0 weekend just gone in La Liga, and they've only won one of their last 5 games. So I just thought, just for something different, maybe we have a bit of a chit chat about Barcelona. I did see some talk on Twitter about Serginho Dest maybe not fitting into to Xavi's system, and he may have played his last game for Barcelona.
It's interesting just how much they've fallen off the map now. It's like there is no bottom, and it's crazy. I went to Spain in 2018, and I bought tickets and went to a Barcelona home match, and I think about like the CMS line and just mismanagement and bad spending and bad deals and overpaying for guys and flops. And it's well, you knew there was going to be a rebuild after Messi left, but it looks like it's going to be a long and deep rebuild.
Yeah, luckily they've just secured some funding from Spotify of all places. Spotify is going to have naming rights for the Camp Nou as of next season. It's going to be called the Spotify Camp Nou. It's worth 236 million euros. So considering they're $1 billion in debt by all accounts, I don't know how far 236 million euros is going to go. But that's enough of the sour, mate. We've wallowed in our own crapulence, if I could quote Mr. Burns.
Mr. Burns. That was a perfectly cromulent word.
It was a perfectly cromulent word.
You can really, it's an embiggened podcast.
Let's move on to the suite. I'm going to go first this time, mate, because I love this guy. I don't think he gets enough recognition for what he does. He doesn't do a lot, but when he does do something, it means something. And Divock Origi coming off the bench and just securing the 3 points in what was a very dour Merseyside derby, easy for me to say, is just tremendous. He is the definition of a super sub. I don't think he's won enough trophies. Like, he's won a couple with Liverpool, so I don't know if we could put him on the Ole Gunnar Solskjaer level, but if we're ranking them, I think he's just below that in terms of his effectiveness as a super sub. So Divock Origi is my big winner this week.
Yeah, Klopp, he is the best finisher on the team.
That's wild.
The best finisher on our side.
That is wild. And, I saw that, or I heard that soundbite, and I thought, that's a bit of fucking nonsense, But then you go back and you look at the stats, and he doesn't need a lot of chances to score, Divock. I mean, Mohamed Salah, Sadio Mane, these guys, the reason they're so prolific is they get so many chances in a game, and they miss more than they score. Divock Origi seems to just have perfected the art of being able to come on, get 1 or 2 chances, and just make one of them count.
Yeah, it seemed like a weird thing for him to say too. It's like a retirement party, or you get the retirement bounce, and you have a dinner in your honor. Just like, yeah, this guy, he was our best salesman for 25 years.
it did smack of that a little bit, didn't it? So Divock Origi, he's my big winner this week. Paul, you've kept me in suspense this week. I wasn't able to kind of scout out your winner via the run sheet. So why don't you lay it on us, my friend?
Yeah, there you go. Always keep the audience wanting more. That's the key. I won't keep our listeners in suspense any longer. We don't want to drag out the runtime of this pod. I'm going with Manchester City. I really think it's their year finally. They're out of excuses. Going to El Estadio Santiago Bernabeu is still going to be tough. This tie is not over, but it was like a call and response, dueling banjos kind of game. Every time, Real Madrid pulled one back, they responded and tacked another one on there. And I think we're going to have I know we all have City versus Liverpool fatigue, but get ready because there's one more go around. I think we're going to end up split somehow. I think City's going to win the UCL and Liverpool are going to win the league.
Big call, Paul. Usually you're the one pulling me up on my little, native sayings, but I picked up on one from you there, mate. Dueling banjos. Can you give us some history on that saying?
There's this movie in the 70s called Deliverance. It's about these yuppies from Atlanta that go on like a whitewater rafting trip and they end up in the Georgia woods and these like hillbillies are stalking them, and there's a scene where the guy's playing the banjo and the like weird redneck guy can play the same thing back. So it's like
dueling banjos. I love it. That's fantastic. Yeah.
Like people probably don't know the name, but they know that riff. Everyone knows that sound effect. Now it's time for the armband, where we basically take everyone from the last week in football that we would like to discuss. Something that caught our eye, good, bad, or indifferent. Something that really stands out. It's kind of a big picture segment. Stewie, who are you going with for this week?
My pick for the armband this week is one that I think could be a bit of a seismic shift for your club, Manchester United, and that is the official appointment of Erik Ten Hag as their manager. I've said it before on the podcast a couple of times, actually. Given the time and the space, and by space I mean having the board step back and just letting him take care of things on the pitch, he can transform this club. He's done it twice. He's had 2 cycles at Ajax, and he's built 2 fantastic teams that, the vultures, the big clubs are circling to kind of pick the bones of Ajax again. I think we'll see a lot of big transfers coming out of Ajax this coming transfer window. I just think it's huge. It could be Klopp-esque if they can just kind of rid themselves of that Manchester United stank that's kind of been attached to him since Ferguson left. But if he can get some clear air and build his team and do things on his terms, I think Erik Ten Hag could be a huge appointment at Manchester United.
Agree all around. It's about a builder. You need a program builder, and you need somebody who's going to tear it all down first. I mean, maybe the biggest problem that they've had is they've been like a fantasy team. Just square pegs, round holes, just guys to sell shirts, just names that's all they bring is a name. So to sell a shirt, built around different systems. You've got the revolving door manager. So they all brought in their own guys. Just let's get some coherence. Let's get a real, get a real theme and get everybody kind of stay on it. And I think that'll make all the difference.
Yeah, get everybody pulling in the same direction. I watch a lot of football content because, as referenced earlier, I have no life. So I saw this. I can't remember where I saw it, if it was from CBS or if it was from Sky Sports or BT Sports or Optus Sports or one of the myriad places that I get my content from through the week. But one of the many pundits there, it might have actually been Michael Richards, said that Manchester United missing out on Europe altogether could be a little bit of a blessing in disguise. those trademark names that you talk about that they just pony up the big cash for to sell some shirts might not be available to them if they don't qualify for Europe next year, or if they just qualify for the Conference League or whatever.
I have a lot to say on that, and I'll save that for the summer, for the silly season.
100%.
My moment is not so much a moment, but just where we are and how it's come to this. It's like a realization, just the status quo. Before we had a big six, United, Liverpool, City, Tottenham, Arsenal, Chelsea, we had a big five. And at that point, Chelsea and City hadn't got their sugar daddies. So they were kind of irrelevant back then. So it was the same for the fifth team with Everton. So now Everton is not only in this trophy drought, but going down for the first time in 70 years, perhaps. And they've got this giant new state-of-the-art Riverside Stadium that's going to open up soon. And just, wow, like, to think about the gravity of that. Like, I think in recent years, this is going to be the biggest team we've ever seen relegated in maybe decades, if it happened.
I think they're a big chance to get relegated. Check out the sportsbank.net. What a website. We've got some pieces on there just detailing the relegation scrap and how...
Someone wrote a really good piece on that, didn't they? Didn't write a real in-depth piece with a lot of great graphics. It even had score predictions in graphic form. It was pretty solid.
You can see how I think that the relegation scrap is going to go. On a serious note, I do think if Everton go down, they could be in some big trouble. Now, I'm not privy to the finances and contracts and stuff like that, but once again, referencing my zero life, I've watched a bit of content on this. Everton have a lot of players who are earning a lot of money, and they don't necessarily have relegation release clauses or even relegation wage drop clauses, which could hurt them a lot. The difference between a shirt sponsor in the Premier League and a shirt sponsor in the Championship is astronomical, and their shirt sponsorship deal is just finishing up, which is just horrible timing for them. The stadium situation, that's a lot of money. And just thinking about like they haven't been miserly with their coin. They've spent quite a bit of money. As a matter of fact, in the same season that Liverpool purchased Sadio Mane, they bought Yannick Bolasie, and he actually cost them more money. And it's the same deal with Mohamed Salah, and Gylfi Sigurdsson actually cost more money than Mohamed Salah did. So they've been spending quite a bit of cash. I really hope they don't get relegated, because it could just be a bit of a shitstorm. And I don't know if that it smacks a lot of Leeds United from the early 2000s. It might take them quite some time to get back up.
We can have the same conversation we had early season when Arsenal was in the drop zone very early on, and we had Hector on. It really is. It's better when these teams are good. Football is just better when they are. We are down to the last four fixtures of the Premier League, at least for most teams, and there are indeed some tasty fixtures this weekend coming up. It all starts off with the potential banana peel for Liverpool as they travel to St. James Park to face Newcastle United. So, Stewie, are your boys going to make sure they don't slip on that banana peel? Can they avoid it? And how are they going to do against Eddie Howe's men?
Liverpool and slipping, hey, they go hand in hand. It was just recently,
CBG.
Just recently brought to my attention that it was the 8-year anniversary, which is a thing apparently. People celebrate the 8-year anniversary of Steven Gerrard slipping over against Chelsea in that game. Like, it cost us the title. It was the Crystal Palace game, but that's a whole other story. So we travel to Newcastle. I do think that this is a potential banana peel. I'm a big fan of what Eddie Howe is doing down there on Tyneside. It's going to be a tough game. I kind of hope that they come out and play, because the last few games Liverpool have been involved in, the teams have been playing a bit of anti-football, and it's been a bit of a tough watch. So I hope they come out and play. I don't think they will. I think Liverpool just have enough firepower about them to get it done, though. If Salah and Mane aren't working, they can turn to Diaz. If Diaz isn't working, they can turn to Firmino. Jota is, still in the top 5 goal scorers in the league. So I think they've got enough options to potentially get a victory here. Liverpool 2-1 for me.
I think you guys got it. I don't think it's going to be a problem at all.
Okay. Well, I hope you're right and I'm wrong.
They can be, they can be definitely a backstop. Like, they're ugly. They can muck it up and bring down, make the opponent come down to their level. But I don't know. I think there's just too much on the line here between. I think that could happen to anybody except Liverpool and City right now. I think everyone else could fall for it, but not them. Up next, we get Watford versus Burnley, with one team that's already got nothing left to play for, and one team that's fighting to make sure they don't end up with the same fate. So with that in mind, who you got?
So this is absolutely, you surmised that perfectly. I'm thinking the new manager bounce at Burnley will continue, and they will chalk up a 1-0 victory. Just a little side note, you're the editor-in-chief of the sportsbank.net, so I know that you saw in my Burnley piece that their new manager is actually named Mike Jackson. How interesting.
Right. So this will be a thriller. And, you'll remember the time that Burnley was able to beat it against a Watford side that was really bad.
You beat me to the bad punch. I was going to say the exact same thing. I was quite tickled by the fact that their new manager is named Mike Jackson. But anyway, getting back to the football, the Clarets to win 1-0 for me.
Yeah, you are not alone in picking up on that.
Okay, what do we got next, pal?
We have another matchup of two teams with absolutely nothing to play for: Southampton and Crystal Palace.
This is going to be an interesting one. As everybody knows who's a regular listener to the pod, I'm a big fan of Ralph Hasenhüttl, and as people know who have been listening to the pod since its debut, you'll know how badly I got my Crystal Palace prediction wrong this season. I'm just going to go for a draw because I can't separate these sides. And, I've done a full 180 on Crystal Palace. I didn't rate Patrick Vieira when he came in. He's fast becoming one of my favorite managers in the Premier League. And it's great to see a Premier League legend come back as a manager. And they haven't torn it up or anything, but there's just some steady progression there at South London. And I'm a fan of what Vieira's doing at the Eagles. I got away from my prediction a bit there. 1-1 draw, Southampton, Crystal Palace 1-1.
Sounds fair. I would agree with that. Next, we move on to another matchup of two teams. Well, again, there's a lot of matchups of teams with nothing to play for. Aston Villa, who have secured safety, and Norwich City, who are heading back down. So who you got in this?
Have they secured safety? I don't know if they are safe. Okay, so they do have a game in hand, but they're only 3 points ahead of Leeds. I almost added them to the relegation scrap situation, but they're just that little bit further ahead. I think Villa will get a win. I think if they win against Norwich, they will actually be safe. So, yeah, I think they'll do that. I think they'll beat Norwich.
Credit you for mentioning Aston Villa and not paying homage to Steven Gerrard again. Up next, we've got a mid-table side against a side perhaps fighting for UEFA Conference League, if that's a thing that someone considers a reward or not, or something to shoot for. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. In Wolves hosting Brighton.
Okay, so you might have picked up, in lieu of having two big focus matches where I got a lot of facts, I've got a lot of small facts this week. If Wolverhampton win their 2 games in hand that they have over West Ham and Manchester United, they will go into the Europa League spots. So that's something to keep an eye out for. I think Wolves will get the job done against Brighton 1-0.
You got to credit them for putting in a foundation and building it.
100%.
Which brings us to our next match. Hopefully we do, my American bias is showing, and you love American soccer, so you have a bias for them too. Perhaps Jesse March is putting in a foundation and building, but Saturday is not going to be one of those days that's going to show progress. Saturday is going to be one of those days that will look worse because they are hosting Manchester City.
I want to preface all of this by saying I'm a big fan of Jesse Marsh, and I think long term he will be tremendous for Leeds United. 12 months ago, Leeds shocked the world when Stuart Dallas, 91st minute winner, flew into the net, and they got all 3 points over Manchester City. Manchester City kind of corrected that earlier this season when they just tonked them for 7 and beat them 7-0. I think it's going to be more like their most recent fixture than the fixture last April, and I'm going for Manchester City to win 5-0.
Sounds about right. This has like one of those crooked numbers or cricket score kind of games all over it. From there we transition to Sunday. We're going to talk about one underachieving side, which is kind of come correct and salvaged their season and picked it up, versus the one side that is massively disappointing and has never picked up what they're supposed to do, and that is Tottenham hosting Leicester City.
I think Tottenham, just the fact that they're embroiled in that top 4 race, that we've got that tasty fixture on the horizon, Tottenham versus Arsenal, which is probably going to decide where that 4th place goes. I think Tottenham will keep the train running and pick up 3 points over Leicester.
Yeah, I'm not picking Leicester to do anything. Just like I'm not picking Everton to win their next match, which is against Chelsea, and that is you've got some stats for us on some, don't you?
Yes, I do. You caught me on the hop a little bit there, but okay, here we go. Everton have won each of their last 3 Premier League home games against Chelsea. Last winning 4 in a row against them at Goodison Park between 70 and 73. So if there was ever a time to match that record, now is the time with relegation looming. And on the Chelsea side of things, they have the highest win rate in games played on the first day of the month in Premier League history. They've won 30 of their 50 games that they've played on the first of the month at 60%. On May 1st specifically, Chelsea have won all 4 of their Premier League games. So if you put any stock into that kind of stuff, looks good for Chelsea. As far as my prediction goes, I'm going for a 1-1 draw. I just have a feeling that Everton will put the stalls out and they'll manage to pick up a point here against Chelsea.
So next, it's a London derby as West Ham United hosts Arsenal.
I think this fixture will be the one that puts the death knell on West Ham's top 4 chances, which are kind of fleeting at the moment as it is anyway. I think Arsenal will get a win just to keep pace with Tottenham Hotspur.
And then that takes us. We'll close it out with Monday Night Football. Manchester United hosting Brentford. There's also, I just want to make a note that there is Manchester United hosting Chelsea in a reschedule on Thursday night. And that is a reschedule of an advanced week later in the season, because the only thing that makes sense to me would have been that must be a reschedule of the FA Cup final. And I don't know. It's just hard to really preview United and give a prediction because, and then, by the time this is edited up and by the time the listener, get to it, maybe the United Chelsea result will already have happened. But I think United's going to lose both. I think they'll lose to both of these Southwest London clubs.
I'm a little bit more optimistic. I don't think that they'll beat Chelsea. I think that match might end up in a draw. I'm not big on where Chelsea are at the moment either, but that's another thing for another podcast. Manchester United got to win one eventually. Brentford have got some huge scalps this season. I think maybe even this version of Manchester United going to Old Trafford and getting 3 points is a bit off book for Brentford. I don't see it happening. And like I said, United have got to win one eventually, and I think they'll do just that against Brentford.
Because all my rowdy friends are coming over tonight. Well, it's Monday night and I'm ready to ride. Steelers and the Cowboys gonna blah, blah, blah. So before we take off, Stewie, do you have anything from your week ahead that you want to share with our listeners?
So it's becoming just the usual at this point. I'm going to be on Goals on Film again. We're doing draft day in recognition of the NFL draft. That's happening this week. So that should be fun. Bit of Kevin Costner and I think Jennifer Garner action. I haven't actually watched it yet, so I'll have to get to that sometime soon.
Oh, yeah. It's just like, why didn't anyone go to his birthday party? I want to know why no one came to his birthday party.
That's the one. That's the movie. Yeah. That's draft day.
Yeah. So I was gonna say, I did a piece, the 71 worst NFL draft cliches.
I really enjoyed reading that. That was a good time.
Maybe the one that makes me laugh the most, only because it's funny how this cliche, because it's in draft day, you'll hear it. I remember that. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because when that started, you can see how society has evolved and changed. So now it used to be something a lot of draft nicks or whatever would say, and now it's very politically incorrect and they can't say it anymore. And Kevin Costner, he's like, looks like Tarzan, plays like Jane.
Okay, well, yeah, if you're interested in, if you're interested in hearing a few Aussie guys talk about an American sport, an American film starring a, Kevin Costner and Jennifer Garner, check out Goals on Film. Also, the long-awaited last 4 parts of the World Cup preview coming to the sportsbank.net this week also, so keep an eye out for those. Looking forward to writing those. They're a lot of fun to write, and I'm very excited for the World Cup this year.
This is our very first episode as part of the Edge of the Crowd podcast network. Very happy to be a part of that. I'm glad to be aboard. Look up at Edge of the Crowd on all the socials. You can find us there, and also at edgeofthecrowd.com, where you can find some great sports, entertainment, and pop culture content. As always, be sure to get all your latest football news to sportsbank.net, and show the third co-host on this podcast some love by following at Otis Ginger Tabby on Instagram. He was kind of quiet tonight, but
we missed out on Otis tonight. He's been a bit sheepish. He's upset with how Manchester United are traveling, I think. So he's just kind of retreating.
Typically, Otis has a lot to say about calling out like Ole's tactics or Raniak's lineups, but I think Otis is kind of checked out. I think he's given up. But be sure to check out his that video I just posted of him climbing the baby gate, climbing the divider.
Okay, that's on Instagram at Otis Ginger Tabby.
Yeah, it's a good watch. And if you enjoy this podcast, please click that subscribe button. And if you really dig it, please take the time to give us a 5-star rating. Also follow us on the socials. I'm at Paul M. Banks. Stuart is at Stewie is sick of it. And after extra time with the underscores, which nobody likes underscores, but it is what it is until we get the better handle. So until next week, he's Stuart Kavanaugh. I'm Paul M. Banks, and this has been After Extra Time.
Nicks it out. Roger! Does he not stop that? Take away the rigging, and that is travelling into tomorrow and beyond. A rocket out of it. This is hit with violence. When he hits them, they stay hit.